Yo, what is up, guys? Joker bringing you another video. It's that time again, finally, when we have a league start reveal to break down. So, like I did with every POE1 league, I'm going to break down what we got going on in POE2's first ever league as well, the Dawn of the Hunt. Now, take this video with a grain of salt because we don't have a lot of the uniques, we don't have a lot of the support gems, and we don't have a lot of the skill gems. The only things we have right now are like the ascendancies and a couple of new runes and relics, so I'm really not going to go into them too in depth. I'm just going to cover everything that we got on the announcement page, and then much like the other leagues, I'll make more in-depth videos on like each thing at a later time because I don't want the video to be like an hour long, right? So I guess let's start us off with the trailer, which is the reveal for the Huntress. Let's see how loud I can actually make this.
It provides prey, shelter, even love. But for me, one day, all that were changed. The spirit, it showed me something. Something forbidden.
See, and I may have missed this part completely, or maybe it was just her tribe that could not use skill gems. But apparently they banished her for that.
I lost.
How dare you save our ass?
That day.
I could have swore in like raid class, skill gems were just a thing.
I'll right the wrongs I've done. I'll do what I must. No matter the cost.
Super poorly designed jail cell if they can just like grab your fucking spear and stab you with it. And then stay inside the cell. So honestly, I don't know how much of a fan I'm going to be of the actual playstyle. This does not look super great to me, honestly. Like I get that you're supposed to dash in and out, right? But that requires kind of way too much precision timing that you really don't have in PoE 2. Like you're never really trying to avoid one hit, right? And getting swarm gets you dead. That's another thing that they introduced, Rogue Exiles, which how they're doing Rogue Exiles in PoE 2 is really interesting. So 0.2 does bring us a decent amount of stuff. Like overall, it's not bad, right? The 0.2 is looking like it's going to be bringing us a lot of stuff that Path of Exile 2 desperately needed. Like changes to the rune system, making items matter a little bit more, end game juicing, right? The rework of the end game system, a lot of end game chase uniques. Those are all a lot of things that PoE 2 really did need. So I'm happy that they actually did add them. But we got the trailer out of the way. The Dawn of the Hunt introduces the Huntress with her two ascendancies. One of them looks kind of like a blood mage, and the other one works like some kind of buff stacking class. The Huntress looks really interesting, but the Ritualist looks really good. The Ritualist can get like a third ring. I'm going to go over the classes in a separate video like I was mentioning, right? But the Ritualist seems like it's going to be the highest power ceiling, right? Compared to the Huntress, like just because she can get like additional effect of amulets and rings, and she gets a third ring slot, and you can pair that with ingenuity. And then if you have like ingenuity and Astro Mantis on top of that, you would have like just ridiculous amount of damage that the rest of your gear could literally be purely defensive, because all your damage and offense could come from your rings, your amulet, and your belt. Or you could flip it and have all your defenses coming from them and just be tanky as fuck. But yeah, and then the Amazon, she has an ability like a mini headhunter or inspired learning, where you can walk up to a dead rare and you can still a buff. It says a buff, but in the trailer it shows her stealing multiple buffs. So I don't even know how good that's going to be. We have the 20 new Huntress skills. So we've seen about 3 to 4, right? Like the throwing of the spear is one, obviously. The like jumping ground impact is one. So we don't really like, we're missing a lot of the actual skills because we've only seen a handful of them. At most, we've seen about half, right? Because at some points, the skill bar would be maxed out. So your 5 buttons plus your movement keys, and it was always full. So at the very minimum, if those were all Huntress abilities, then that's 8 abilities that we've seen. So we really haven't seen all of them. This is probably the coolest thing. Let's see if we can get that to replay. The Huntress is going to get the ability of like rezzing a super minion. So if you get to mapping and you get like a 6 mod rare chasing you, if you can actually kill it, you can res it as its own minion. Now, is that going to be strong enough to survive on its own if you're not specking into anything minion based? Probably not, but we're gonna have to see how it works. Apart from that, we got the Chocobo. I think the Chocobo is a terrible idea. I think you're gonna be constantly hit off of it. I think they should have just gave us the 10 to 15% innate movement speed. Or made the Chocobo do something, like have a button that you could push where it can like jump across the screen or something. Give me an incentive to use it, because as of right now, the Chocobo has no benefit besides a little bit of additional move speed when you're attacking. And honestly, you're already usually slow enough that you're probably not even going to notice the difference, even if you're on the bird. And if you get knocked off the bird, you seem to get CC'd and your ass kicked in, right? The other 3 new ascendancies, the Lich seems to almost literally just be the occultist ported over to PoE 2. The tactician, I don't even remember how the tactician played. I'm gonna have to pull up his picture because I don't even remember how he played. Yeah, I mean, it's a crossbow class, right? Nothing stood out. That should say enough on its own, is the fact that I don't even fucking remember what he did. And then the Forge Guard, I'm sorry, Forge Guard. Lawsuit. The Smith of Katava is like a Forge Guard, kind of. Essentially, what you do is you have one ascendancy that like lets you build your own chest plate. Once again, the ascendancies are getting their own video, not, it's just not this video. Otherwise, it'd be like a 30-minute video. That's why I'm trying to just cover everything relatively fast and cover the like initial speaking points that I found interesting, right? So we have new skills. They point out the Summon Roa, which I mentioned I don't like because it works like an aura. So you're going to have to reserve spirit for this. And if it knocks you off the bird, then you're just going to get CC'd. They're not going to show it. They showed it in the video. But if you get knocked off, you kind of just get CC'd and you kind of get your ass destroyed, right? As well as they didn't really explain what happens when your Roa dies. Like, I don't know what happens there. And then we have Ray Summon Spectre. Gazzy looks super excited about this, and I don't blame him because there hasn't been a much minion support really in the game. This is like our first, like, probably realistic minion build, right? Like without any of the cheese or stupid mechanics people were using last time, with like infinite summon race specters with the flame wall cast on ignite or whatever. Yeah, instead of like that, this should actually get you a good minion build, because a lot of the mobs are insanely OP and a lot of them are cool as fuck. Like if you can res like the laser beam triceratops, those could probably be pretty strong. But it all depends on how much spirit we're realistically able to stack. I haven't even looked into stacking spirit, but I know you can get several hundred easily. So at the bare minimum, you should be able to get like 2, 3, 4 really cool specters up. 100 new support gems. Honestly, this people are like, oh my god, 100 new support gems. Yeah, okay, we have a ton of support gems in PoE and we use probably a dozen, right? I hate to rain on people's parades about this. The support gems, honestly, yeah, if they manage to make them cool, but I'm kind of underwhelmed from what they've showed so far, right? Like bleed doesn't have enough support in the game on its own in general, so I don't really know why they're trying to do that, and I may be wrong. I just haven't looked that much into bleed, because when I was looking into an ailment build, it didn't feel like there was enough ailment support for me to really do anything with any of them. I mean, besides poison was okay, but poison's always okay because it's usually relatively simple to scale. And in Path of Exile too, they kind of just made it easier to scale. I'm low key, if I wasn't starting an Amazon Huntress again, I would probably play just like Caustic Arrow again. That's not what it's called. Poison class. What is the arrow called? Is it Gas Cloud Arrow? Is that what I'm playing currently? I would probably just play that again, but I would do poison based. Um, because that scaled me to end game super easy. Then yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything else like usable. All of these skill gems, for whatever reason, have a rather large downside, which I don't understand. Like if we look at cadence, right? Supported skills have 10% more attack speed for each time they've been used recently. Supported skills are unusable for 10 seconds after being used 8 or more times within 4 seconds, which means that you can't use an ability more than 2 times a second. So you're going to be kind of trying to balance getting up to 2 attacks per second, but not anything more than that. Because anything more than that is going to brick you and have you standing there for 10 seconds like an idiot. I don't get that. That's going to be pretty hard to do with a 40% more attack speed multiplier on top of. So I guess if you use it on a really slow ability, like some big windups, that way you can get more of the hits off in a quicker fashion. But just make sure you don't attack more than 8 times in 4 seconds. So you could like stagger your attacks yourself as well. I don't know. This support gem, unless I'm just completely misunderstanding and this is broken as fuck, a lot of these gems just don't make sense to me. Like a lot of them just don't. So hopefully some of the other gyms are significantly better, but I mentioned that in my last video going over PoE too, really, is I stated that there was a lot of gyms that were still missing, right? I was just scrolling through showing that there was literally pages and pages of skill gems missing. So I knew we were going to get a bunch of gems. 120 gems in one patch makes me feel like we're not going to get 120 every patch, and they're probably going to just fill out the log and then do balance changes. Sometimes they may add like a new skill gem, but I don't see them adding a ton of new skill gems, because even nowadays in regular PoE, we only get like 1 or 2 skill gems a patch. Like, we've really only been getting a few. I mean, not that long ago, they did the whole transfigured gym thing where they completely reworked them, but that's something different. So, apart from that, we have 100+ new uniques, and these have been confirmed to be mid to late game uniques. And you can kind of see that if you played Path of Exile 1, right? The Mind of the Council is the helmet that she's using, which, if it works the same, right? If it works the same, then this is going to be good for like mana stacking attack based characters. Um, but then we really don't know about a large amount of the other items. I don't particularly recognize anything else that she's holding. I mean, this could be a Sire of Shards, but that's not really an end game unique. Let's close this other window. No, well, kind of. Actually, the more I look at it, the more I think it is, right? And this would give you a bunch of projectiles as well as the ability of firing the projectiles in a circle if they don't change how they work too much. A lot of the uniques have changed how they work from PoE 1 to PoE 2 if they did get ported over. So these are probably going to work differently since she's holding a Sire of Shards, Mind of the Council. Um, I mean, some attack projectile based mana stacker. I don't know. But let's look at a couple of the other items. So we have a unique buckler. Parried enemies take more spell damage instead of more attack damage, which is interesting because that shows us that parry gives you more attack damage. I could have swore it just said showed a weakness, but I guess it's a more damage multiplier if you parry a hit. So that may be worth looking into on its own, how much you can like stack that. Then we got Mjolnir, which is going to be for the finest cocks. We have Zerfi's Serape. Serape? I don't know how to pronounce that, but it gives you Soul Eater, which is pretty cool. Soul Eater super strong for any build really that can benefit from more attack or cast speed, as well as doesn't Soul Eater give you attack damage and DR too? I could have swore it did. But then we have a unique charm, which honestly seems pretty bad in my opinion. The unique charm grants onslaught during the effect. It would last for 3 seconds, and it would only proc once you get slowed. So that didn't make too much sense to me because used when you are affected by a slow, your speed is unaffected by slows and you gain onslaught. So you're going to have 3-second onslaught whenever you get slowed, and it uses half the charges. So at best, you have 6 seconds of slow immunity and onslaught. But to get that to work, you would have to get slowed. You don't get to choose when you have the onslaught. You just have to hope one of the mobs is going to slow you. I don't get this. The only thing I can think of is if you have like shield ground, maybe it'll mitigate that because you should be killing stuff fast enough to get the charges back so you could ignore shield ground. That's the only thing I can think of. As Marion Wisp, this seems to work a lot like Tormented Spirits. It seems like Tormented Spirits plus Wildwood, which is pretty cool. You're going to find a wisp in your map, you're going to follow it around, and it's going to essentially touch a bunch of mobs like the Ghost do, how they do the Tormented Spirit touched, and they get like the additional quant, rarity, stuff like that, just more rewards and stronger, right? And then like when it gets to a rare, it's going to possess the rare like it does right now, and it makes it stronger and has it give more loot. So since this seems to be a combination of Tormented Spirits and since this seems to be a combination of tormented spirits and wildwood, I have a feeling that these mobs are going to be insanely rippy. Like, I'm calling it right now. These are going to have to be tuned down within the first week. I think these are going to be incredibly rippy, and you're going to need to focus a lot on defense. Especially because now we have rogue exiles in our maps as well. So rogue exiles plus these plus whatever was already on your map kicking your ass, you're not going to have that great of a time. But maps overall should be significantly more rewarding than they were. Like 10x at least. Like the way they phrased it, it should be significantly better. Then we have 7 new in-game maps. These are going to be unique maps like Untainted Paradise or Moment of Zen. That's the impression that I got from them at the very least. We have a map that's going to have a bunch of essences, and there's going to be like an essence boss in the middle. Kind of like, I think the Scarab of Calcification, if you play current POE, right? Scarab of Calcification. Nope, that's the wrong one. I need the one. Okay, so there's a scarab that turns all of the essence in a map. I think it's adaptation, right? Yeah. So adaptation takes a essence from every essence on the map and puts it on to the next essence in the map, right? It gives you like a cascading effect kind of. And this is going to work kind of similarly to that. There's going to be a bunch of essence in the map, and it is going, every time you kill one, it's going to put one of those essence inside this boss. And it's going to be like that one strategy where you juiced a mob to high hell and you kill them for the essence. That's what this has become. They made it its own map, right? That's my understanding of that. I guess the Silent Cave. Then we have the not fractured. Then we have the, fractured lake, the Mirror of Kalandra zone. They're moving it over, and it does kind of the same thing it did during Kalandra League. At the end of this zone, after you've cleared it, you're going to be able to find a really strong mirrored item, essentially, is the TLDR. Is you're going to find like an insanely strong mirrored item at the end. Or it's going to let us mirror something. I don't remember, and I'm not going back and looking right now. And then we have the Ezomite Megalith. This is a boss gauntlet where essentially boss gauntlet. Is it actually bosses? Okay, it is actually bosses. So yeah, I was right. It is a boss gauntlet where essentially you kill 10 bosses in a row that are getting difficult, or like that are getting more difficult and stronger each time you kill them, but also more rewarding. There's also apparently 4 more in-game maps, because this says 7 and I only see 3, right? So there we go. We have Rogue Exiles coming. Rogue Exiles are in PoE 1. It's currently what people are farming, but they work differently. These Exiles are apparently going to be pseudo mock PvP battles, so you're going to be getting your ass kicked constantly if you don't have a good build, because these Rogue Exiles are probably going to have pretty decent builds. Oh, sorry about that. I just smacked the shit out of my microphone. They're going to probably have pretty decent builds, but whatever items they drop, whatever items they're using, they will drop on death, like it's a PvP death, and you can pick them up. So if you see that they have, for whatever reason, an Astromantis on, you're going to be able to pick it up. I don't know if it counts jewelry, but in case it doesn't count jewelry, fuck, I don't know. A gold rim. That's the only item that I can think of off the top of my head that's not a jewelry piece, and will give you like a decent benefit in the game overall, right? Gold rim, right? Especially early on. If you can get one of these to drop a gold rim, you'll be set for your decent chunk of the league. Which reminds me, Also got to do league start videos because I know a lot of people aren't going to have ever played a league. So I got to make a video going over what to really expect. They also added more to strong boxes. That they added a couple of new strong boxes, 4 in total, and they all have unique gimmicks. One seems to be the same thing, like rezzing a mob over and over again, and it gets a bunch of buffs. One seems like purely wave based. This one kind of gives me ultimatum vibes. And then we have this one with the dice, which I don't even know. I did not engage with strong boxes at all because they were not in a good spot. So I guess I'm planning on testing them out. We have a new end game system, which is cleansing the corruption. This honestly kind of plays like Finding Citadels did in POE, like 3.14 or whatever, when we still had the Citadels. Um, you're going to start at like the center and you're going to find the corruption. The corruption's going to lead you to a corrupted boss zone. You clear it, you kill the boss, it clears the corruption, and it flips it into cleansed or something, I think it's called. And then you have the ability of dropping fracturing orbs. I'm going to make a video going over fracturing orbs because from what I can tell, they work exactly how they work in PoE 1. So I shouldn't have that hard of a time explaining how you can use these. I'm just going to use some real examples over there, right? So that's essentially how it works. You find the corrupted zone, you follow it, you get to the corrupted boss, you kill the boss, it sends out a wave, and then that wave turns the corrupted into cleansed, or whatever the fuck it's called. Yeah, it is called cleansed, and they have new mobs, new bosses, new modifiers, and rewards. So the way they put it is you're going to be balancing between the two. Do I want to rush to the boss, clear the zone, and have the chance at fracturing orbs, or do I want to clear all the maps first and then go to the boss? I guess that does something else. I was not paying attention that much. I do apologize. I just keep looking at the time and I see this video is getting longer and longer. So improvements to the in-game systems. They changed Lost Towers. Essentially what they did here is they re-rolled the layout and they added mechanics to them, right? So now Lost Towers are less shitty. They have additional requirements that you can clear within the area that once cleared, you would be able to put more tablets into them, and there is less towers overall. Apparently there's like a third of what there was before, so you being able to put 3 tablets into 1 tower is how they're kind of compensating for that. You should still be able to get some relatively insanely juiced maps if you do set up the Atlas right. I'm going to definitely do the same thing I did last time, try to get to the end game pretty much as fast as I can, start messing with this to see what we need to be doing. And then last thing, there is now a corrupted essence. This corrupted essence seems to work the same way that it does in PoE, right? Instead of the remnant of corruption, however, I believe you just use a Vol Orb. Yeah, you use a Vol Orb on essence and it has the chance of corrupting it, giving you the highest tier essence, and or I'm sorry, the highest tier essence, and or upgrading the tiers of the essence, and or changing them to the same type, right? So sorry, my brain was trying to work right there. It will update them all to the same type. It will add an additional essence. It will upgrade the essence. I think that's it. I don't think it can do nothing and release it. uh I don't I don't think it can release it like it can in current PoE. So I think one of those options are guaranteed to happen. And this comes out on April 4th. So next Thursday, I believe, right? No, next Friday. Oh yeah, because they always do it on a weekend. So April 4th is when we're getting this update. Overall, I'd say 6.5, 7 out of 10. Like, some of it's cool, but I was honestly expecting a lot more, right? I was expecting like another class or two. I was just expecting more. I'm not ungrateful, but with delays and everything, and the fact that they keep moving the POE 1 team, I was expecting more, right? Because at the very least, people said that they were expecting the Druid as well as the Huntress. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And until next time, take care.